Hey guys, we're here today to talk about the Western Conference final between Dallas Stars and Vegas Golden Knights. Ultimately, the Vegas Golden Knights finally get it done in 6 games, even though it looked like it was going to be another sweep. Dallas Stars, without their captain Jamie Benn after a 2-game suspension, managed to snatch home 2 games and just gave us an inkling of perhaps this could be a reverse sweep in a way, but it didn't happen in the end. Vegas, it was a tight series all round, even though there were 2 blowout games. Majority, like 3 games went to OT. If you look at those first 2 games, which really gave Vegas the head start. I mean, it's been Dallas's issue all season, really. They just can't win in overtime, even though their game 4 heroics to keep the series alive was in overtime finally. But yeah, the first 2 games they go 4-3 Vegas in OT, 3-2 Vegas in OT, and both of those overtime goals were scored within the first minute and a half, I think. Um, yeah, it really set up the series for Vegas, those 2 wins. They were 2 big clutch wins. And then obviously the situation with Jamie Benn getting game misconducted in game 3 within the first 2 or 3 minutes. Um, and Vegas just ran away with that game 4-0, which just ultimately put Dallas too far back to sort of really peg anything back. They tried their hardest. They got the job done in game 4, got the job done again in game 5, but ultimately fell apart in game 6 and got absolutely torn apart 6-0. And the Vegas Golden Knights are off to the Stanley Cup final for the second time in their franchise history. I mean, they haven't existed for long, but 2 Stanley Cup appearances within that time frame is bloody impressive. And it could be their year. There's no reason to think they can't get this done because they've been a powerhouse all season, and they've shown just how good they are throughout this playoff series as well. Mm, I don't think they've really ever looked like losing a series um, throughout. So, they beat Winnipeg Jets pretty convincingly. They beat Edmonton Oilers relatively easily, and then Dallas Stars obviously being 3-0 up in the series. That didn't look like it was going to get away from them, even after losing 2. It still looked in their hands. But yeah, just to run us through some of the stats and what the series looked like, we've got Jaden.
Alrighty. Yeah, interesting series. It was a kind of a close series, honestly. 3 games going to OT. One of the games only by 2 goals, and then just the other two that were a bit of a blowout. Game 3 and game 6 in Vegas's way. Yeah, like you said, the series was kind of really decided on those first 2 games, those first 2 OTs. It just really did give them that leg up, that extra little game they could flaunt with danger. Um, it is interesting with the Jamie Benn part of it, where he's 0 for 4, being on ice, and that Dallas were 2-0 with him without him. I don't really blame it all on him, though he's done some stupid things, hence the suspension. But honestly, some of the Dallas players just also didn't show up consistently enough as well. Like Rupi Hintz was amazing, but I don't feel like we saw the best of Robertson and a couple other players on the team. And definitely in game 6, it really was just Ottinger versus Vegas. It just looked like an AHL squad out there for Dallas. And I don't really blame Ben on that. I know a lot of fans do. I do blame him for his salary and what he brings. Same with Seguin, but that's been an issue for what 5+ years now. It feels like. So that's on the Dallas side. Once again, don't fully blame Ben, though he's got some blame. But the team just did not show up at some points, and they had a good power play. They had a good penalty kill. Just honestly lapsed at times and just didn't look like the Dallas we knew. once they were 3-0 down, I didn't think they had a chance of bringing it back just because of their consistency issues during their regular season and their issues with winning games in OT. So I didn't feel like they really had a chance, and they kind of cemented that with Game 6. On the Vegas side, honestly, I feel like all that whole entire team showed up. Jack Eichel was playing amazing. William Carlson, botching a lot of putting in a lot of goals in this series. Masha still the best plus minus on the team, and they have no negatives in their worst plus minus, which says a lot. And then that goaltending was definitely the biggest question for this team, and they've gotten some pretty solid goaltending from Aiden Hill, and only averaging 2 goals against a game. You're pretty much not guaranteed, but those are good stats to follow up in regards to the playoffs. And it's an unexpected face. You'd expect to see those numbers, but he's doing it, and he's doing it pretty well. And they do have a somewhat person they could throw in the net in Bressoa, though he hasn't been on Aiden Hill's level by any chance. Issue for me, Vegas, power play and penalty kill still not good enough, but they get it done 5-on-5, and that's what's scary about this team. They just Mark Stone cops a lot of whack every series, as he has, but other players are just like, oh, he gets cross-checked into the pole and hurts his face. It's all right. Jack Eichel will go and get an assist on William Carlson or something like that. So, yeah, it's been good. Good to see two teams that haven't won the Stanley Cup in Vegas and Florida. So someone new will be hosting the cup. And there's honestly the two best teams that have been playing this playoffs that I can see. So very, very well worth it. Poor on Dallas' side though, and looks like they might have to shape things up going on into next season and forward.
Yeah, for sure. I think what you said there on the two best teams in this playoffs, I also think it's two teams that play complete lines. Like they roll out all of their lines consistently well.
Yeah, they're
You
four
know,
lines teams compared to
it's
teams like Oilers and stuff.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Compared to a couple of those teams that, that they rely so heavily on their first and second lines. Like Dallas, you could probably um throw in that category. I think Dallas do have some reasonably good depth, but I don't think they're at the level of Golden Knights and Florida. I just think they roll out those four lines so consistently well, and it's huge, right? Like if you can protect players like Eichel and Stone and that from playing, you know, 25 minutes a night because that we can't trust our fourth line. Well, they're gonna burn out. These guys, it doesn't happen because they can trust everyone that they put on the ice. They're more than happy for their third and fourth line players to play decent minutes. Um, and as you can see with the plus minus, they're quite dependable as well. Like there's no one on that team that's a liability at the moment. And yeah, it's taken them so far, and it's one of the big reasons why they are where they are. Because when you've got consistency and depth throughout your line, you don't need an outright superstar in your team. You don't need one of the best players in the league to win cup. You just need good players across the board. And yeah, I'm not the biggest Golden Knights fan, but I can't fault anything they've done this season and this playoff series because yeah, they're super consistent across their lines. They've got good depth. The only issue that we've said a lot throughout this season and this playoff series is their goaltending. But I mean, Aiden Hill is, we say it a lot. One of the big things that you need to win a Stanley Cup is you need your goaltender to stand on their head. And Aiden Hill's done that for Vegas. Mm. I think the toughest part about this is they're going up against the Florida Panthers, who have Bob Brasky standing on his head. Um, which we'll talk about in the Stanley Cup preview video. But yeah, like it's insane that the consistency that the Vegas Golden Knights are getting throughout their lineup, not just one or two lines. Um, and it's what's going to make the Stanley Cup super exciting to watch, and it's what's made Vegas super exciting to watch throughout this playoffs because they're so dangerous no matter who's on the ice.
Mm,
And I thought that was one of the big things throughout this series. I was with you. I would have loved to see a reverse sweep. We obviously both picked Dallas in 7. So that would have been great for our brackets. But um, however, when they went 3-0 down, I was with you. I was like, Dallas might be able to peg a game or two back, but I think Vegas will get it done at some point. And ultimately they did. And that's just what happens. It's why you don't go 3-0 down.
mm.
The comebacks do not happen that often.
Yeah,
And
no, they
you
needed a
find
really
yourself
big
3-0
swing.
down.
They didn't really have the players playing the way they were to pull that swing back. Enough of them anyway. Um,
Yeah.
you mentioned the plus minus. You know, Issa Lindell -10, only 3 assists for the series. Defenseman like a -10 is just horrible. Like,
Hmm.
and you know, I've just seen on social media that everyone blames Jamie Benn, but you know, a lot of people accountable. I think Jamie Benn was like 6 in the points leader score. He was only a -1. Like, I'm sure he basically cost game 3. Um, but yeah, like what I'm just trying to say is, you know, like you've said, it's a full team effort, and Dallas didn't have that going in. And honestly, it's really good to see Jack Eichel his first time going through, and he's going all the way. And you know, it'd be kind of hilarious if he won the cup and McDavid didn't first. That would be kind of hilarious. His first try and did it, and it's like, oh, it's not that hard. What do you want about? But no, it's
But I think that highlights something, right? Like we know McDavid is a much better player than Jack Eichel in total, right? That
mm,
Jack Eichel is a really good player. I'm not going to take anything away. He is a great hockey player. But McDavid is head and shoulders above a lot. However, put Eichel in a team and they can win a cup. Put
mm,
McDavid with nobodies and a couple of reasonably good hockey players, and they don't go anywhere. Like, yeah, he's a superstar, but if you don't build around that and actually put good players with someone like that, they're not going to do anything. Yeah, they're going to win games, and we've said it time and time again. I think that's the magic chemistry here. Is Jack Eichel in Buffalo was supposed to be this big hero man, and he was going to take them everywhere, and they couldn't really build around him. He goes to Vegas. He's not. Yes, he's a big name player, but he's not the out and out superstar. He's not expected to carry Vegas because they're like, "Well, mate, like it's great to have you here. And yeah, you're going to be on our top line, but it's not all on you. We've got so much around you that's going to help you. So don't feel pressured to. You don't need to score 100 points for us to be good.
mm,
You just need to go out and do your thing, be your best, and if you have an off nights, you have an off nights. We've got people to pick up the slack, and that's ultimately why they're here, and that is probably why you're right. Like Jack Eichel might have a cup before McDavid.
mm. Yeah, it's kind of a crazy story and headline there. Sure that'd be a little bit salty in McDavid's mouth, but it'd be good for Jack, especially being his first run in the playoffs, and he's shown that he is a playoff player as well. And good on
Mhm.
Rupe Hintz, definitely shown he's a playoff player as well. You know, a lot of talk about Dallas trying to look for a new captain, in regards to fans wanting a new captain. Hey man, if you're gonna throw a C on someone, Rupe Hintz showed he can carry, and shows up. I still like Pav, even though he's probably got 2 years left or something like that. But that's just my 2 cents in regards to Dallas's captaincy. Little issues or non-issues. We'll see what they do in the off season. But anyway, got it wrong. Stars not in 7. You know, Vegas in 6. That's what happens. It was pretty much Vegas all over done at game 3, and that was the series. But yeah, that's all I've got there for that to say.
Yeah. Um, all I can say is bring on the Stanley Cup final. It's going to be an absolute cracker. Dallas, you've got some work to do in the off season. I think you've got some things to address. I'll be very interested to see what they do, but we'll talk more about that in the postseason wrap up for the Dallas Stars. But yeah, that's it for me as well. I think everyone just get pumped for the Stanley Cup because it is going to be a cracker. I really hope it's 7 games.
Alrighty. Until the next video, guys. We'll see you later.
Catch ya.